Worksheet Avengers, I'm here today. Worksheet Avengers, let's learn and play. Throw those old worksheets away. With blank books, graphics, games the active way. Hey everybody, are you ready to learn some new strategies to use in your classroom instead of using worksheets? Now, a long time ago, somebody said to me, you know, if a child can do a worksheet, it's a waste of time. If a child can't do a worksheet, it's a waste of time. Why do a worksheet? And it's kind of true. When you give worksheets, you're kind of hitting at the middle of the class. Children who are struggling have a difficult time, and children who are very bright don't need to do that worksheet. So I've got some open-ended things that are much more engaging for children. They're much more creative, and they can be used in multiple ways for different age levels, different content, different skills you're working on. All you have to do is think about, why am I giving this worksheet? What do I want to accomplish with it? And then try one of these other strategies. So first thing I'm going to share with you, I'm going to share some blank books. Now, if you've been to my workshops before, you know I love blank books. They're great because whatever skill level children are at, they can work at their level. I also like to do blank books because some of your children don't have books in their home, and so when you make a blank book at school and you send it home, the parents can see what they're actually doing, and it's a tangible way to show their growth. So first little blank book I'm going to do with you today is called a brochure. And when I used to do this, I used to say, fold the sheet of paper into thirds, and then one day a teacher said, oh, Jean, you know, kids can't do that. So you just tell them to make a burrito and smush it. And if you make a burrito and smush it, you'll have a pretty good brochure. And I also wanted to mention a good way to make these books is with a small group, like with your guided reading group or a small group. If you've got 4 or 5 kids around a table with you, you can help them individually. And so help them learn how to make this brochure. I would do the brochure every day for a week. And then once they learn how to make a brochure, it's real easy to give an assignment using the brochure. So let's see some of the things that we could do with a brochure. Well, one thing that you can do with a brochure is you can use it to retell the sequence of the story. They can do the beginning, the middle, and the end. Oh, and by the way, when I do Facebook Live, everything's backwards. My webmaster will send it through some special program, and tomorrow you'll be able to see it the correct way, so it won't be backwards. But yeah, we'll make that work better. Another thing that you can do with a brochure, if you're doing a unit study, it's perfect for KWL. Know what I want to know and what I'm learning. Another thing that you can do with a brochure is you can use it to make CVC words where you've got a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. You can do other sorting activities with the brochure, and a lot of this will just depend on the age level that you work with. So maybe you want them to practice writing the words on the word wall. We'll have them write all the 1-letter words, the 2-letter words, and the 3-letter words. For the older children, you could let them write 1-syllable word, 2-syllable words, 3-syllable words. If you're doing nouns, you could do people, places, things. If you're doing colors, they can do red plus blue equals purple. And with the younger children, you can just let them write letters, cut out pictures, and write words. They could cut these things out of magazines, all sorts of sorting activities. If you turn the brochure vertically, then you can use it for animals in the air, animals on the ground, animals underground, transportation in the air, on the ground, under the ground, food that grows in the air, on the ground, underground, transportation in the, oh, I'm sorry, I already said that. Urban, suburban, and rural, different communities. And then another fun thing to do with this is to have them write letters that start at the top dotted line up here, letters that start at the middle dotted line here, and letters with a tail that go below the line down here. And for the older kids, if you have them make a brochure And then if they take scissors and they make two little cuts that look like V's in the front and the top, okay, so it looks like a W, then they can use this for story components: who, what, where, when, why, what will happen next. So you've got the W's up there: who, what, where, when, why, what will happen next. And it's a good way for them to retell a story. Of course, brochures are also good if you go on a field trip, or you can do a brochure about your community, or you can just pick up some travel brochures the next time you go on a vacation, and then let the children make their own travel brochure like that. So many, many different things with a brochure. Now, the other book I'm going to share with you today is the house book. And so this is made with, again, a plain sheet of paper. You fold it hot dog style, and then you open it up and you fold one corner into the middle crease, fold the other corner into the middle crease, and then if you fold the bottom up just a little bit above that, you will have something that looks like a house. Some people have told me it looks like a sailboat. That's fine too. So what can you do with a house book instead of doing a worksheet? Well, one thing you can do is you can have them talk about my family. So they could draw their family. Thanksgiving is coming up. They could draw things that they're thankful for. In December, we celebrate different ways, and so this would be a good way for children to draw a picture about how my family celebrates and to talk about different ways that they do that. Another thing that you can do with the brochure is you can use it for a book report. The children write the title, author, illustrator, and then open it up and draw a picture about their favorite part of the book, or the older children could write about it. Another thing that you can do with the brochure, whatever skill you're working on, like say you're working on the letter T, let them make a T book, and then they can open it up and they can draw pictures, they can write words, they can cut out pictures of things that start with the sound. Do you see how more open-ended that is than giving them a worksheet and color the things that start with T? Because some of your children can write words, and some can draw pictures, and some can cut things out of a magazine, so it's much more open-ended. Now, you could also use this if you were working on colors. You could make a red house. If you were working on shapes, you could make a circle house and draw all the things in the house that are circle. You could use this for a homework activity with environmental print. Take it home and write all the words you can find around your house that you can read. Another thing you can do, you can make a math house. You could write a number up here, and they could open it up and write different ways to make that number. This one I've got for fact families, 4, 3, and then you open it up, and the different combinations that equal 7. You could use this for a noun book, that they could open it up and they could draw people, places, things. You could use this for word families. They write the word family on the front and then open it up and write all the words that end with that sound. So, I mean, you can see, again, whatever you're working on, just think, what could I do instead of giving the kids a worksheet? This is much more open-ended, much more engaging, much more creative, much more meaningful for them to do some of these things. And then one other thing that you can do with a house book, if you just fold this down and put a little sticker here. This is great for writing a letter. So if you're working on, want to write thank you notes to somebody, or just to have this in the writing center so they can write letters to their friends or family members, it's a great incentive to do it like that. So those are 2 books that I wanted to share with you. Next thing I'd like to share with you that you can do instead of a worksheet, I'd like to share some graphic organizers. Okay, so there are many different ones. And by the way, just to let you know, on my blog this week, drjeanandfriends.blogspot.com, I will have directions for all of these, and I will have all these examples. So you'll see them over the next 5 days on my website. So let's just talk a minute about graphic organizers. Graphic organizers give children a visual way of putting things in their brain. It's a real good memory activity. This is one that you all know, tic-tac-toe or a lotus diagram. So how could you use this instead of a worksheet? Well, if you were working on phonics, a phonics activity, they could put the letter in the middle, the digraph, whatever, and then draw things that begin with that sound in the sections. You could let them put a number in the middle and then different ways to make that number. If you were doing a unit in science, let's say you're doing a unit on dinosaurs, they write dinosaur in the middle, and then every time they learn a new fact, they can put it in and challenge them to fill up all the frame by the end of the unit. You could also use this for social studies. You could use this, I like the idea of spelling words. So you have the children write their spelling words, and then the teacher calls out spelling words, and they get to color in the frame when you call out their word, and you see who can get bingo first. It's just a sneaky way to get them to write their spelling words. You could also use this for homework. I love this idea for homework. So a lot of parents want homework, a lot of parents don't. So each week, if you could have simple things that the children could do at home with their parents, maybe like read a book, depending on the season, look in a magazine and find a picture of something you're thankful for and write about it, or count the number of chairs in your house, different things like that that you're working on. And then they take this home on Monday, and during the week you would ask them to get tic-tac-toe so they could do any direction they wanted. And if they want to fill in the whole thing, they can. So some kids like homework. If they like homework, they can fill it all in, and some aren't that crazy about it, so they make 3 choices and fill it in. My friend teaches 5th grade, and she actually uses this idea when she does a unit of study, and she gives the children choices about how they want to show what they've learned, whether they make a food or make a costume or make up a new rap or song about it, whatever. They get to choose what they want to do, and they can choose 3 or they can choose more than 1. Now, another visual graphic that you can use in many, many different ways instead of a worksheet is a T-chart. And you know how to make your T-chart. So you could have the children do odd and even numbers, singular and plural, synonyms, antonyms, true, false, fact and fiction. Many different science concepts you work on, like sink and float, absorb, does not absorb, man-made, natural. A lot of different science concepts can be reinforced with the T chart. And I also like the idea of ways to be a good friend and how to be a bully. So good manners and not good manners, good food, junky food. Again, depending on the season, what you're working on, use the T-chart to help children sort those things. Okay, so we've done 2 blank books. We've done 2 visual graphics. I'd like to play a few games with you right now. And this is an idea that came from a teacher. She said she kept a little bucket on her desk, and whatever they were working on, she made the flashcards and kept them in the bucket. And then whenever she had a few extra minutes, she could just pull them out and play a game. Now, some people think flashcard games are not good. You need to make it fun, and there's a thing called rapid automatic naming, RAN. How quickly can you see something and retrieve the word for it? So there is some value in using flashcards, but you need to make it relevant to what you were doing, and you need to make it fun. So you can do flashcards with shapes, you can do flashcards with math facts, you can do flashcards with numbers, you can do them with dots, with letters. Anything you're working on, you can make flashcards. And I would actually probably make a different set every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on what skill I really wanted to focus on. And so here are a few fun ways to do flashcards. This is called boom. So we're going to flash through here, and when the word boom comes up, kids get to jump up and shout boom and scare me. So here we go. You, two, can get boom, and they love to jump up and scare you. What I used to do with boom, was I would change it depending on the holiday or season. So like Thanksgiving's coming up, I would have a couple turkeys in my flashcards. And when the turkey came up, the children got to jump up and go gobble, 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 gobble. And, you know, as corny as it sounds, they love doing it. And anytime I can figure out how to get them to move a little bit, that's a good thing. I also wanted to mention when you play games, sometimes I'm going to show you a game where we keep score. Sometimes kids get real upset about who's going to win and who's going to lose. And so all you have to do is take a circle and you write high on one side and low on the other side. And after you've played the game and tallied up the points, you throw the circle up in the air, and if it lands on high, the team with the high number wins, and if it lands on low, the team with the low number wins. So it kind of just disperses the conflict that you might have sometimes over keeping score. And then here's another game, kids versus teacher. This so much fun to play. So let's say we've got 3 minutes before lunch. Instead of wasting time, we're going to play kids versus teacher. I make a T-chart on the board. And I go, all right, you guys are going to be the kids. I'm going to be the teacher. I'm going to beat you. Ho, 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 ho. And you have to add magic to these, okay? You got to be silly and fun. And then you take your flashcards and you hold them up. And if the kids know the answer, they raise their hand and they get a point. However, if the kids talk or shout out the answer, the teacher gets points. And so I've played this game before, and you know the kids keep on talking, and I just keep making a little tally marks, and I just keep getting all my points. And before long, it dawns on them they better be quiet. And if you have a child that continues to shout out the answer, the other kids will they'll take care of it. They don't want that to happen. I have a little word worm too. He could be a word worm. He could be a number worm. He could be a letter worm. And all you have to do is draw a little worm's head on a paper plate. And then you take your flashcards and you pass them out to the children. And one at a time, they come up and they put their card next to the worm and they read the word. And then the next child comes up and puts another word and they read the previous word and their word. And then another child comes up and adds a third card and they read the first word, the second word, the third card. So you see how you've got that repetition built in. And this game, you know, can be used and go on for whatever. With numbers, you might want to have the worm start 1 through 20, or with the letters, or any way that you might want to do it. If you have a child who is not real sure about what the answer, what might be, or how to read the word, you can always invite them to have the audience read with them. So audience, would you read with me? And that kind of takes away the stress. I also like sometimes if we're playing games to have the children whisper and release. So if you know the answer, like I'll hold this up. If you know what the answer is, would you whisper it in your hand? 1, 2, 3, release. 1. And so they're all saying it and whispering it in their hand, but it gives the slower children time to think a little bit. And then when they say it out loud, if they don't know the answer, they can be real quiet when they, but it helps reinforce the answer in their brain too. So we know anytime children write, and that's what's good about those blank books, a lot of writing, it's good for the brain. And whenever they talk, we know that helps the brain remember things as well. So we've done games and we've done some blank books and we've got some graphic organizers, and let's do something real simple right now with a clipboard. And this is a great tool, and all you have to do is get a piece of corrugated cardboard and a butterfly clip. Let the kids decorate these. They can all have their own clipboard. And how can you use this instead of a worksheet? Well, they could do observations. They could observe the weather. You could go on a nature walk and they could write down observations. You could use this for surveys. What's your favorite kind of pizza? Or who do you think is going to win the World Series? You could use this for write the room, where they walk around the room and they write words that they can read. Or with the younger children, they can draw the room, and so they can draw shapes, or you can have them write letters, or they can write numbers, whatever they're working on. You can also have them read the room, and this one you would give them a list of different words, and they have to find the words in the room, and then they can cross them off. Of course, you could also give them a list with letters, or a list with shapes, or a list with numbers, anything you're working on, and they kind of check it off. It's also really good, for seasonal vocabulary, or if you've got bulletin boards with lots of words, that they can check those off as they read the room. You can use these for note taking, and yes, I would encourage even kindergarten and first grade children to use these for taking notes when they're watching a video or when you're reading a nonfiction book. All through their life, they're going to need to learn to listen and take notes, and so let's just get them started. And they can write words or they can draw pictures. It really doesn't matter. You could use this for interviews. You could also use this as you're doing a unit study, what I learned, and they can write down the different things that they learned, and you've got a great assessment, an ongoing assessment. Lists. Kids love to make lists. They can make lists of what they're thankful for, their favorite books, their favorite songs, their favorite foods, their favorite subjects at school, their favorite animal, their favorite sports or games. Oh, here's a good list. What can you do if you finish your work early? They could do a list of things that make them feel happy, a good list of how to be a buddy, a list of cheers and goals. Cheers are things they're doing well, and goals are things they're working on. So again, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to accomplish? Let me think how I could use something like this instead of a worksheet. And just a few more ideas before I say goodbye today. Wanted to do some active learning. And so active learning is anything where kids are up and they're moving. And so real simple active learning is just air writing. They take their finger and they practice writing in the air. Letters, number, words, whatever it might be. Karate writing, I know a lot of you have seen me do this. Karate writing, they punch up high for letters that start at the top dotted line. They punch in the middle for letters that start at the middle dotted line, and they give a little kick for letters with a tail. So if we wanted to spell the word happy, we would do Happy. Happy. And then you fold your hands and you say the word. You can also do karate counting. 1, 2, 3. Or you can count by tens. 10, 20, 30. Do you see the difference between 10, 20, 30? And actively moving, crossing the midline, getting blood going to the brain. Another one that is active is you can step and read. So let's say you've got a big book that you're reading, or maybe a poem that they get to step for each word, like Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. And then they clap when they come to the period. You can let them make other motions for different punctuation marks, but just to have them step and read instead of just sit down and read. Another active learning is sports spell, and so this is football season, so we take our football and we're going to hike on the letters, and we're going to throw a touchdown pass when we say the word. So let's just take the word want. W-A-N-T, want. Or baseball. L-O-O-K, look. And you hit a home run. Or soccer. S-H-E, she. And you make a goal. And so, let the children come up with different sports that they would like to do. Another thing that you can do is alphabodies. And so let's say you're working on phonics. Boys and girls, what sound do you hear at the beginning of turkey? Show me what sound you hear at the beginning of turkey. And they can make the letters with their bodies. You can also let them demonstrate vocabulary like frigid, and act out the words, pantomime the words. A little math activity for active learning. You put your hands in the air and say a number. You touch your shoulders and say an operation, plus or minus. You touch your waist and say another number. Touch your knees and say equal, and then touch the ground and say the answer. So it would go like this. 5 plus 3 equals 8. 7 minus 1 equals 6. So they're moving their whole body. And then, of course, patty cake is one of my favorite ways for children to learn actively. So they work with a friend and they can spell out words, they can count, they can say different rhymes and things that you're working on. So I hope you've all learned at least 10 things that you can do next week in your classroom instead of a worksheet. And just to let you know, Carolyn Kozlowski and I have written a book called Worksheet Avengers, and it's 150 things that you can do instead of a worksheet. So you saw a little taste of what's in the book, but there are a lot more ideas and pictures and illustrations that you will find in the book. And if you go to my website, drjean.org, and click on my song star, if you've put FB Live 25 for the 25th day of October, just FB Live 25, you'll also get a 25% discount on that. So it's going to be less than $10. It's probably less than what you would pay to eat lunch at a fast food restaurant, and hopefully something that you could use for a long, long time. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. It is time to say goodbye. Give a smile and wink your eye. It is time to say goodbye to all my friends. Goodbye, friends. Have a great evening.